Hi everyone, David Aragona and Mike Beer here, taking a look at one of the graded stakes events on the Haskell undercard this Saturday at Monmouth Park. The race right before the Haskell, race 11, is the Grade 2 United Nations going the 1 mile and 3/8 distance on the turf course for some older runners. And Mike, we got a large field entered for this race. 12 runners signed on. We'll see if they all end up in the starting gate because it feels like some of them are in tough here. We'll see if they explore some other options. But I mean, even if this field holds together with 10 or 11 runners, I mean, it feels like this is a pretty competitive race to handicap.
Yeah, I like this race. This race came up really, really good. A lot of horses that you can make cases for in here with a big field, assuming we get, most of them to run here. Trips will be very important. I also felt like for a race over this distance, you might actually get a pretty solid pace.
Yeah, we've actually got the top three finishers from this race last year, and it was a pretty close finish. We'll get to the replay of that a little bit later. Get Smokin' looking to win 2 United Nations in a row, but Mark Cassie's got another one in here. We've got a runner from the Chad Brown barn on redistricting with Flavian Pratt, who figures to take a lot of money on the hard-knocking limited liability. So there are a lot of ways to go in this UN, and to get a sense of how these horses might sort themselves out in the early stages, let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. And Mike, obviously, the plan with Get Smokin' is always to go to the front. That's the way he runs his best races. Having competed in a lot of marathons, he's not going to have the fastest pace figures, which is what the Timeform US pace projector scans for. So that's why he's not maybe shown on a clear lead, and some of the horses stretching out from shorter races are showing up alongside him. But I think as long as Get Smokin' gets away cleanly from his outside post, he's going to be in front.
Yeah, I agree. That's his running style. It's really what they do with him every time they send him out there. He'll go for the front in this race. We'll see what they decide to do with redistricting, who, they sort of dropped him a little bit in class last time out of some disappointing results and just sent him to the front. And he looked good winning that race. So maybe they'll try to keep doing that. You have limited liability in this race, David, who's, he's not a fast gate horse, but he likes to make early moves and push the pace in his longer distance races. So this pace could get pretty competitive up there.
Yeah, limited liability probably won't be in front on the first turn, but won't be surprised if he's in front on the second turn, as Frankie Dettori likes to make that early move, as Mike was alluding to. Let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1, Corruption. He is the other Mark Casse trainee in this race to go along with last year's winner, Get Smokin'. And Mike, he's much more lightly raced than that horse. He's just kind of coming into best form now as a 4-year-old gelding. He's a horse that actually broke his maiden for a maiden claiming tag over the winter, but he has continually stepped up in class and has really gotten better as they focused on the marathon distances with him. When they stretched him out, he ran Farbridge to a neck decision in the Pan American 3-back, then was better than an allowance field at Churchill 2 races ago. They ran him in the Manhattan last time, cutting back to 9 furlongs, and that was a race, Mike, where a lot of the horses that did well there were just towards the inside, riding the rail around the turns, and Corruption was unable to show his early speed because he got put in tight at the start, was 2 to 3 wide after that, and also was just facing a really tough field there. Now he's drawn inside, getting back to the right kind of distance.
Yeah, love the post for him. It just feels like he does, he'll come out of there and he'll be forward, but he doesn't need the lead to run his best race. You don't have to worry about distance with him as he stretches back out in here, because he's already proven that he can get a distance of ground. I don't know. I think there's a lot to like about this horse. He actually ran really well last time against a good field, and he probably fits better against horses like this over a distance he handles. This horse is easy to make a case for.
Yeah, Corruption is one of the few horses that was rerouted from last week's Bowling Green. I think there was some concern about the turf condition at Saratoga, or whether races would stay on, so a few connections scratched out of there entered here instead. The number 2, Tawny Port, is in that same boat. A horse that was scratched out of the Bowling Green will be running in this United Nations instead. And Mike, he's just a horse that is looking to get back to some of his better form from the past, because he's run races going back to 2023 and 2024 that would make him highly competitive against a field like this. I mean, he almost won this race last year with a late surge, but he's never been a horse that loves to visit the winner's circle, and his last couple of efforts have been pretty disappointing.
Yeah, we'll see if he can still run. I mean, I feel like, you don't want to obviously hold the last one against him when he got rained off to a very sloppy track. And his Pan Am wasn't good, but that was his first start of the year. So we'll see. We'll see what he's got left in the tank now as a 6-year-old. He ran a bunch of races last year that are going to make him competitive in here. And he's another horse who could fall into a good trip here, David. He's got really good tactical speed going along.
I think one of the toughest calls in this race is what to do with the number 3 redistricting, who you know is going to take money just given the connections he goes out for, and the fact that he's coming off one of the top buyer speed figures in this race, but he earned a 102 for this victory that we'll take a look at in the Monmouth Stakes last time. And as Mike was saying earlier, was just getting significant class relief in this race. He's a horse that had tried grade 2, grade 1 company a number of times, really since he broke his maiden on debut, and maybe always looks like he's running in a race that's one start further than he really is in his development, and just got back to basics in this race. They put him on the front end, didn't complicate it, and he proved superior to the field he was facing here. But Mike, now he's stepping way back up in class, and he's trying something he's never done before. That's going a 3-turn marathon on the turf.
Yeah, and as you point out, just to add on top of that, the key thing that you pointed out too is he's probably going to get bet in here again, and so you're going to be asked to take probably an uninteresting price on this horse. I mean, he's had some unlucky trips along the way, David. I don't really want to make too many excuses for him. His wins, he's been really visually impressive. Like, you can tell that this horse can run, but I don't know. I've liked him along the way. I'm starting to get a little bit tired of him. And I just don't think I want to bet him in here if he's going to be some kind of, shortest price. And I think that'll be the case.
Yeah, his pedigree gives really mixed signals. His dam's a full sister to Breeders' Cup turf winner St. Nicholas Abbey, but the dam's production has been horses that want to go shorter. His best half sibling was a turf sprinter, so we'll see if he really wants to go this far. The number 4, Limited Liability. Mike, he doesn't win all the time, but more often than not, he runs really well, and sometimes the losses are him running the best race, even in defeat, and I think that's been the case several times through his last few starts. We'll take a look at the most recent of those in the Grade 2 Elkhorn at Keeneland, where, as you were saying earlier, it seems like they've decided that the plan with this horse is to just get him rolling really early on these races and try to bottom out the fields, utilizing his stamina. And the way they do it is to make these early moves like a half mile into the race with another mile or lap of the track still to go. And he never breaks that well, so they sort of have to make a move at some point to get him into position. But despite making those unconventional premature moves, he always battles on to the end. He's going to finish and fight it out. He just has not been able to visit the winner's circle the last 3 times.
Yeah, he needs to work on something a little bit better. Anybody who's sort of not familiar with him and is sort of wondering what David's talking about, just go and pull the replay of really any one of his last 3 races. Yeah. Where they just, for whatever reason, Dettori just wants this horse to be up on the pace, even if he doesn't show speed from the gate. So he just sends this horse. I mean, it's a move that almost never works. And yet Limited Liabilities almost made it work in his last 2 starts. This horse is pretty good. He can win here. I'll wait and see what kind of price he is.
Yeah, I mean, we say it never works. He hasn't won the last 3 races, but I mean, he's in some of the most consistent, best form of his career right now. Maybe he'd win 4 in a row if they had different trips. Remains to be seen. The number 5, Grand Sonata, is a horse that ran pretty well in this race last year, Mike. Just barely lost in a photo finish to Get Smokin'. And since then, his form has been a little bit up and down. It seems like he generally does run his better races these days when they're going the 3-turn marathon distances, and also when he can save a little ground. I'm not going to hold the off-the-turf Belmont Gold Cup against him last time. He just doesn't handle the dirt, but he ran better than it looks to back in the Elkhorn when he never really had a clear path in the stretch.
Yeah, it did seem like he was in a little bit of trouble. I thought it was hard to tell, how much it cost him in that race, but he was not clear in the stretch. This horse is good. I'm a fan of his, David. He's not a superstar. He's not a grade 1, kind of horse, but he's good. He always shows up. As you pointed out, he's gotten, since they've stretched him out in distances, he's really handled that well. His effort in this race last year was good. He got a great trip and ride in that race, but he still ran really well.
The number 6, Vote No, is a horse that's in the best form of his career coming into this race. He's really turned things around since getting claimed by Kelsey Danner and these new connections, winning 2 in a row, and they stretched him out to a marathon distance last time, something that his pedigree doesn't exactly say is what he's supposed to love, but he clearly relished the added distance. Mike did get a good trip in this race, saved ground early and tipped out, but you had to like the way that he kicked in, going the farthest distance of his career to run down this field in the stretch. Also in here, that gray horse that Vote No is running past is starting over. We'll get to him in a little bit. But Mike, this is just a horse that you have to respect based on the recent form.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, you're right. It was maybe a little surprising he handled the stretch out last time, but he handled it really, really well. A nice, strong finish, starting over. He's not the horse to beat in here. He's not one of the favorites in here, but he's pretty good. He's run some nice races, and Vote No just ran right by that horse in the stretch. So I've always had a little thing for this horse. I really liked him as a 2-year-old. And, they spent a lot of time on the all weather with him. But to me, he's a turf horse. These connections have gotten him back on the grass, and he ran really well last time.
Number 7, Rebel Red, is another horse that's coming into this race in great form, arguably off the best performance of his career when he won the Chorleywood Stakes, going the same distance at Churchill Downs last time. Mike, I thought he got a solid pace to close into in that race. They, were taking some shots at each other up front. A horse kind of ran off on the lead, and that's what Rebel Red wants to have happen up front, because he's best when they take a hold of him, save his run at the back of the pack, and then unleash him through the final 3/8 of a mile. And they made the widest run. That's what he responds to, and he was able to run that field down. Are you a little concerned about the jockey switch for this race to Luis Saez? Because this is a tough horse to ride, and Jose Ortiz is the one that has gotten along with him best.
Yeah, it's true. You're right. I mean, and you were the one who was alluding to this. I think you and I did the video for his most recent start, and it felt like two back when he fell and clipped heels. It's because the rider wasn't that familiar with him. And you've pointed out, people can go back and pull that replay if they want, the video rather, that you and I did. But this horse has one eye, and he can't see to one side of his head. So, you have to be really, really careful with him. You got to get him settled, and you got to keep him in the clear of other horses, because if you don't, you could run into a real problem.
The number 8, Starting Over, he was the other horse in that replay that we took a look at the Cape Henlopen that was getting run down by Vote No in the late stages. But Mike, at least it was a return to form for Starting Over, because he is a horse that had been pretty good over the winter of 2023 into 2024, then completely lost his form. Didn't look like he was the same horse. Didn't run well at all when he came back in the Brittany Russell barn in the Elkhorn, but he got back to one of his better races last time. I still don't know if it's quite good enough to beat this field.
I don't think so either. I guess the thing to like about him is he's another one where distance is no issue, and he's going to be a price in this race. And so I don't want to knock this horse too much. He's run some good races. He's certainly run races that would give him a chance to get a piece of this, and he should be a really good price.
The number 9, Major Dude, is going to be trying something new in this race. He's been competitive in these kinds of grade 2 and grade 3 races in the past, Mike, but he's never gone a marathon distance before. And it kind of feels like they're trying this almost out of desperation, because he hasn't really been achieving the wins lately as a horse that, earned some graded stakes victories early in his career. And it just feels like he's been a little bit off form. They're changing something up. I'm not totally convinced it's going to work.
I'm not either. I mean, sometimes it can be a smart move too in these, stretching horses out in these marathon turf distances, because you'll tend to get weaker fields. These aren't, the stronger middle distance or shorter distance turf horses. So you can land in the right kind of spot if the horse can handle the distance. I'm not convinced this horse will handle the distance, and this isn't an easy spot anyway. This is a good field.
The number 10, Get Smokin', was the winner of the United Nations last year. And let's actually take a look at the stretch run of that race, because as we said earlier, a few horses that competed in this race last year are right back in the 2025 edition of the UN. That's Get Smokin', of course, on the early lead. Grand Sonata is in behind him. Tawny Port is closing on the outside. Grand Sonata got a great trip. I mean, this felt like a race when you watched it, Mike, that where being on the inside or riding that rail for as long as possible really enhanced horses' performances, and Get Smokin' and Grand Sonata were down towards the inside most of the way. So it felt like that helped them a little bit, but Get Smokin' still ran well because he carved out some legitimate fractions up front and held on for the victory.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I mean, this horse, you could see it there in the replay. He was saved by the wire for sure, but it's not like this horse walked on the early lead. He did a lot of hard work up there. And, you can see it on the pigs there. He's repeating that pattern this year. The same one he followed last year. They gave him a prep race up in Woodbine in the Eclipse. They let him roll on the front end, and he got tired and run down. Then they came here to win the UN. Same thing this year. They took him up for the Eclipse. They let him roll on the front end. He got tired and out finished, and they'll come and try to win a second UN.
Yeah, I actually thought he ran a lot better than that 82 buyer suggests in the Eclipse last time, because that race was dominated by closers, and he went quickly up front before fading. Mark Hasse is good second off a layoff. The number 11, Lord Eddard Stark, is kind of tough to make a case for, Mike. I mean, he did win a stakes going 2 miles over the winter at Gulfstream, so he's got stamina. This might even be a little too short for him.
Yeah, exactly. And he's a horse. He's just it feels like, and listen, maybe the pace will work out, but he's going to have to pass a lot of horses and a lot of good horses if he's going to win this.
And then rounding out the field on the outside is the number 12, Hush of a Storm, and New York bred, trying open company here. One that has not been in a very best form lately, although he did just miss as the favorite in the Kingston last time out. He was beaten by a horse that probably should have been better then. I'll be interested to see if they actually run here, Mike. Brad Cox didn't name a jockey for this race, and he drew a tough post.
Yeah, I mean, I like Hush of a Storm as a horse. I don't like him in this race at all.
Let's go to picks for this United Nations. Mike, where did you land?
I thought this race was very wide open. I looked at a bunch of different horses. I'm going to take a shot with Vote No, David. Again, I've always been a fan of this horse. I like that they've come back to turf with him. I like that he showed he can get a distance of ground last time. He's going to be a price in here. I'm going to take a shot.
Yeah, I respect limited liability. He's kind of the one horse we both have in our picks here. I think Grand Sonata could run well just like he did in this race last year. But the number one, Corruption, is a horse that I think is moving in the right direction for Mark Casse. I think he ran way better than the result indicates last time in the Manhattan, and he should save more ground from this inside post. So 1, 5, 4, 10 for me, and 6, 7, 4, 3 for Mike in the Grade 2 United Nations Race 11 on Saturday at Monmouth Park. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.